All right, welcome to another episode of the Tech Transfer Podcast. I'm Dave Brown. I'm here with Joon Beh, who's the founder and CEO of Hallo.ai. Very excited to learn about that. So, Joon, would you mind introducing yourself and tell us a little about your company?
Yeah, I'm Joon. I'm the founder and CEO of Hallo. We help people learn new languages through AI. Essentially, you're clicking on a button, starting to have a conversation with an AI tutor face-to-face for you to be able to find more opportunities to speak and eventually become fluent. So my background, I'm an immigrant from Korea. I was born and raised there. My family moved to Utah when I was younger, and language learning has been playing a big role in my life. So I'm excited to use the company to help other people learn new languages and also dream big as well.
That's great. And would you have been like kind of junior high age when you moved here? How old were you?
Yeah, so I was 17 when I moved here. So, essentially I was already grown up, and learning a new language was definitely challenging. That's when I learned actually speaking the language you're learning is critical for you to be able to become fluent. So that's what we're focused on. So instead of focusing on like grammar or like vocabulary, we help people actually practice and actually speak the language. And then you're having a conversation with an AI tutor. And after each conversation, it provides you with constructive feedback.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to see it, it's Hallo.ai, Hallo. So it's like German hello, Hallo.
Yeah, it's hello in German, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's an app. It's an Android store and Apple store, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you, I think, were an accounting student at BYU. Great place to study accounting. Then you went to Deloitte, and so you were working there. You were really online for normal, lucrative, good career. And at some point, you decided to be an entrepreneur. How did that happen?
Yeah, so my dad is an entrepreneur, and thanks to him, growing up, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. When I was going to BYU, to be honest, I was considering dropping out, but I don't think I had the courage to go for it and to go all in. And I don't think I was ready. So after I graduated, as you mentioned, I went to the Bay Area to work for Deloitte, and I did consulting. So my job was actually to have interviews, like technical interviews with engineers from big tech companies like Uber, LinkedIn, Amazon, eBay. And all I was doing was listening to their stories and what was hard about it. So as I was talking with Uber engineers, I thought, wow, it would be awesome if I can just press a button and start having a face-to-face conversation with a native tutor on demand, right? So that was the idea. I was so excited, and I decided to move back to Utah to start my own business. And, it's been quite a journey, I would say. It's been almost 6 years, I guess. So time flies when you're having fun, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you came up with the idea in 2017. And I've got to say, I'm pretty sure I'd heard that same idea from other people prior to that. I was in an MBA here, and people had talked about it would be great if you could speak with language learners all over the world. And so I think this is the story of executing on the idea in a way people hadn't before, right?
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, ideas are, kind of a moot point until you execute on it. And even if you have a good idea, if your execution is terrible, definitely you're not going to be able to make it. So whenever somebody says that, oh, that was my idea, right. I get frustrated because people don't understand how hard it is to like build a successful business.
Yes. So at Tech Transfer, we're licensing ideas essentially. And even here, very technical ideas, we usually say the idea is maybe 10% of the value of the opportunity. The other 90% is execution. That good rule of thumb?
Yeah.
You're good. Well, good. So what were some of the early challenges? So you set out to start a company. You've never done it before. You've been interested in entrepreneurship, maybe seen your dad do some entrepreneurial things. What were the hard things? What did you have to learn?
Yeah, I would say, of course, there's so many challenges. The beautiful part of entrepreneurship is that it's so exciting in the beginning that you're willing to learn and make mistakes and continue to grow as much as you can. The biggest challenge for me in the beginning was actually building a product, because I'm not a technical person. I do have some technical background, but I'm not an engineer by training. So I had to rely on somebody to build a tech company. So I actually raised some money, luckily, through my parents and also one of my accounting professors from BYU. So I raised about $100,000, luckily, and I used that money to try a couple of different things. I hired a dev shop, and I wasted a lot of time and money. I think I hired a couple of engineers as well. It didn't work out. So I think I wasted a lot of my time trying to build a product. At the end of the day, I definitely should have gone for finding a technical co-founder from the beginning. But, maybe 1 year later, I was able to find a technical co-founder. And that's when we started gaining a lot of momentum. So finding a technical co-founder was probably the biggest challenge for me. And then, a couple other challenges, like I actually have been deported from the US because of my visa complications. It's a long story, but luckily I was able to overcome the challenge fairly quickly and come back to the United States within a month, which is a miracle. So it was funny because when I got the interview, or actually before I was entering the embassy, like the US embassy in Korea, I told myself, if I get my visa, I would work my butt off to make this company successful. And if I don't get it, then maybe I'm not meant to build this company. And luckily, I was able to get my visa, which is usually like 2 years long, but he actually gave me 5 years, which is awesome. And then, of course, now I've got a green card and in the process of becoming a citizen and everything. But those challenges were very big for international, students or immigrants like myself. So those were big challenges for me. And then, I've run out of money many, many times. And those are some of the big challenges that I had to face.
Okay, great. So we have a lot of immigrants who come here and study business at BYU and try to start up companies. So you have all the challenges of a normal startup, plus you maybe are dealing with visa issues or something. And you, if I recall, you just got a notice from the government that said you're being deported, and that was it. And I believe, if I understand the story right, you kind of hustled. The attorney said, "Oh, you're kind of out of luck," and then you hustled and found a way, right? That was one more problem you solved.
Yeah, so essentially what happened was I was talking to my lawyer. He was not my lawyer. I just paid like a one-time fee. I think it was $250 for 1 hour. I asked him a bunch of questions, and pretty much he said, "Hey, you have this amount of time for you to figure out what your next visa is," which is going to be my, business visa. So I actually applied through, the USCIS, through the website. I prepared everything on my own. And then I got a letter from the USCIS saying, "Hey, Joon, actually, you're illegally staying in the US. You need to leave the country within the next, I think 30 days or 60 days. So the false information that I got really put me in a bad position. So what I did was I was trying to still apply for my visa while I was in the US, but that one got rejected because they claimed that I was staying illegally. So what I did was I still had like 30 days in the US to figure things out. So I actually applied through the US embassy in Korea online. So I prepared everything. I submitted my application towards the US embassy in Korea. And I was in the US, but I got the interview online. And then as soon as I arrived in Korea, I was able to go to the embassy and got the visa. So essentially that's kind of how it worked out. But it really, probably wasted maybe 3 months of my time. I would say I was just preparing all the documents on my own without having to rely on the lawyer. So I think it paid off at the end of the day, but it was such a hassle for me.
Yeah. Well, so it does make me think, though. A couple months ago, we did an interview like this with Cromwell Wong, who he grew up in the Philippines and immigrated here. And he felt like there were some cultural things in the Philippines that gave him an edge in some parts of being an entrepreneur. Do you feel like growing up in Korea, there are any cultural things about Korea, it's a very high-tech country, that maybe helped you succeed as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that I could contribute my, so to say, progress and success to. I would say one is, definitely hard work and perseverance. Growing up, I was staying at school until literally 11 p.m., studying every day. And that really put us in a position where hard work is just part of our genes and perseverance is part of them. Second part is, I think I was a semi-pro gamer when I was young. So at the age of 12, I was playing competitively. I've won, actually just one competition, but at that age, it was a big deal, right? So that really gave me a lot of confidence in a way that, wow, it's a very competitive sport, which is an e-sport, like a competitive online game. And I was able to compete very, very well, at a young age. So that really helped me have a lot of confidence in myself and really believe that I can do something extraordinary. So those are probably some cultural experiences that really helped me continue to push forward and get to where I am.
Okay, and makes sense. And there's no getting around the hard work component of being an entrepreneur, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you mentioned the hard work of finding the right technical founder. So our student entrepreneurs here, that commonly happens. We'll have BYU students who they have an idea. It's like, okay, but now I can't make this. How do I do it? So if you were here now as a student, how do you find the right technical co-founder?
Oh my gosh, that would probably be the first thing that I would do if I were a student. I would try to find a technical co-founder or hang out with engineers, or maybe I could also learn how to code as well, because I was taking some classes at BYU as well. So I would, participate in every competition from BYU. I know there's so many competitions going on nowadays. Maybe I wasn't aware when I was going to BYU, but I don't think I had a lot of opportunities like what we provide now at BYU. So I would try to take advantage of everything that BYU provides, all those events, hackathons, being able to like take classes from engineering classes, to be able to make friends with them. I think finding the right partner will help you go really far.
Okay, and if anyone doesn't know who's a student, we have the big idea pitch in the Rollins Center, Student Innovator of the Year. It comes out of engineering. You don't have to be in engineering to do it. Here at Tech Transfer, we do a couple of smaller competitions a year. And then in terms of getting to know other students, there's an AI club. There are all kinds of different clubs. So maybe meet people that way, right? So in terms of business models, so Hallo, you've really got traction, obviously, and doing great. The AI probably changed your approach over time. You did a few things to change your model. How's the business model itself evolved over time?
Yeah, so the business model has evolved a lot. So we literally tried, I think, 5 business models so far. So the first product was kind of a WhatsApp model where you send messages and practice with one another via text and also via audio calls. That's how we started. And then we introduced the Uber component where you can press a button and start having a conversation with another partner, which was a subscription model where you pay, let's say $10 per month, and you unlock some of our premium features to be able to have a better experience practicing with other students. And then we introduced like tutors. So you're essentially paying, it's a marketplace where you pay and have a conversation with a native tutor. We provide curriculums and essentially you're having a lesson with a native tutor. And then we introduced like group lessons, not just one-on-one conversations, but also group teaching. We also introduced like the Twitch model, where you pay a subscription fee and then you join and subscribe to a teacher, and then you're able to hop on a call in a group setting to be able to like practice and speak. So you can see there have been so many models that we have tried. And then recently, I guess not recently anymore. So 2 years ago, we completely pivoted to artificial intelligence. So from practicing with a native tutor or another partner, now you're practicing with an AI tutor. And it's a subscription model where you pay, $13 per month, and then you're having unlimited practice time to be able to practice and speak. We also have our language assessment component as well. So I think the biggest lesson for me was that it's great to have a lot of users and a lot of, subscribers or followers on social media, whatever. But at the end of the day, what matters is revenue. And are you able to build a successful business? Because when we launched our first product, we literally found more than 1 million users within a year, essentially like registered users utilizing our product. And our average time per day was more than 30 minutes, which is crazy high. So people are practicing more than 30 minutes per day on average throughout the whole users, which means we were having a lot of usage, a lot of users, and it was costing us a lot of money. So essentially, I think we were losing $80,000 per month, and we just couldn't find the business model to not only cover the cost, but also make a profit of it. So what I learned from that experience is it's great to help people and, grow a huge community, for what you're doing. But at the end of the day, if you're not able to cover the expense and build a successful business, you're not going to be able to be successful. So that's when we decided to really focus on revenue and find a business model that is not only, I would say, beneficial to the clients or students, but also profitable. So as of right now, if you look at our business model, because it's all through AI and technology, we don't have to share revenue with our teachers. Our gross profit margin is 90%. So if you make $10 million, essentially $9 million is your profit. But before, if you look at the previous models that we tried, we were sharing essentially 80% with our teachers. So even if you make $1 million, you only make $200,000. So you can see how hard it would be to build a business. So when I think of a business model, I always think about three things. The first one is it scalable? Because essentially, I want to be making money when I'm sleeping. And then number two is it profitable? Are you able to build a business? And then the third one, I think, is kind of counterintuitive, which is it competitive enough in the market? So I think it needs to be beneficial, not just to you, but also to the clients that you're providing your services to. So if I check all these three boxes, I think it could be a good business model. So what I would do if I were a student, I would try to come up with three, like maybe 2 to 3 business models that could make sense for my business, and then just try all of them and see whatever works best for you. And this is where you don't have to reinvent the whole wheel. It's already proven. There's proven business models that are out there, and you just need to try a few things and make sure that it's the ideal business model for you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people come up with business models by analogy, right? I think at first you were thinking Uber for language learning, right?
Yeah.
And then you kind of evolved from that. Each of the 5 models you just laid out there makes sense and were timely. And if some people watching might not realize, if you're in college right now, you might not realize some of these models happened pre-Zoom. There was no Zoom. And so like sending messages back and forth made a lot of sense and was novel. And then you've had to navigate some pretty big changes in the market. Most people would say with your type of business where you have this big user base, especially when it was a peer-to-peer thing, that you have kind of a network effect where you have to have critical mass. So it does make sense to build up a user base before you're profitable. But how do you know that, no, it's time to switch to revenue? Like, how did you make that decision?
Yeah, so looking back, everything seems so clear. But when I was running that business, it was just so hectic. I was just juggling and doing so many different things. So I couldn't really focus on like the right strategy. For example, we were trying to build a huge community, which is related to our retention. And then we were also trying to make money at the same time. So you can see we were trying to catch 2 rabbits at the same time. And every time we build something, it was affecting one in a positive way and it was affecting the other one in a negative way. Every time we were growing, it was hurting our revenue. And I get frustrated, or I guess embarrassed when I share this story, but the product we had literally had 4 products. So maybe I can explain this in more detail so you can understand. So we had a lot of users practicing with one another in one-on-one conversations and group sessions through live streams. So we already had one-on-one and group lessons between students. So that was 2 products. And then we introduced teachers so they can pay and have lessons with tutors in one-on-one lessons and also in group lessons. So you can see there's 4 products that we were building. What I would have done differently now would be probably like kill at least 2 of them, either just one-on-one or group lessons, and then just focus on that. Or it could be just the peer platform where you pay a subscription model and then practicing with one another. But we were trying to make our students happy and also make teachers happy. And you can see we had 4 products going on at the same time. And that was a big mistake that I made. So I think the advice that I have from this experience is to just really focus on one thing, like one product, one business model. And if you hit $1 million in ARR, maybe that's a good time for you to expand into other products.
Yeah, nice. So simplicity, at least on the front end. And your model is simpler now than the first model you came up with, right? Super.
Yeah, it's just one business model, one way to make money, and that's it. Yeah.
Well, good. And so along the way, you also had to build a team. That can be challenging. I know early on, you moved back to Utah from Silicon Valley and connected with one of your best friends. How did you, and how many employees do you have now, and how have you hired those people?
Yeah, so we have a very small team now, less than 10 people. So we try to keep it small as much as we can. And I think finding market fit doesn't require a lot of team members. In my experience, 3 to 5 people would be ideal. Ideally, among the co-founders, you're able to find product market fit, and then slowly hire people. At one point, it was maybe 3 years ago, I remember managing 17 people, and all I was doing was managing, and I wasn't able to do anything else because there was just so many people. And I didn't have any layer between me and the team members, no managers or no VPs or anything like that. It was just me trying to manage everybody all at the same time. So I think the biggest lesson from that is, I would try to keep the team very small, but very extraordinary team members. And if there's any red flag or if it's not a good fit, I would try to let it go as soon as I can. In the first 2 to 3 months, I would try to evaluate, and they may be very smart, they may be very, very good at what they do, but if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. So I have a huge difference now, because back then I was under a lot of stress. I think I was spending a lot of my time and energy trying to manage and work with those people, because some people were just not a good fit, I would say. And maybe I was not a good fit for them, right, sure, as well. So I was stressed out every day. I was worrying about my team members all the time. I was trying to micromanage because I wasn't trusting some of them, I think. And then now, like every single team member we have, I trust every single one of them. Every energy and focus goes into the product and the business. So I feel like if you're getting stressed on like working with your team, that's not a good sign. So I would try to zoom out a little bit and think about the reason why you're stressed out. And I think it's good to give them some benefit of the doubt in the beginning, but if it continues to happen, I think it's always a good idea to let it go, and move on.
Yeah, why postpone the inevitable? That's probably great advice. So to have a team that small, and a lot of people say Scrum theory will say don't let your team get much beyond 8 people because things get exponentially more difficult. To keep a team that small, you must outsource sales and different functions that can go to other parties. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, good. So along the way, you've done so many things to get here. What are some of the lessons from failure? Not everything worked out. We talked about models that didn't materialize, but what do you take away from those experiences?
I would say 3 big lessons. First one is something that I've shared already, which is just really focus on one thing at a time. I think I am very ambitious and I want to do so many different things. And entrepreneurs tend to want to do multiple things. But I think just being able to focus on one thing and being able to say no to the other good ideas is critical. And then number 2 is, I guess, very related to what we just talked about, hiring slow and firing fast. I would always try to make sure that happens and focus on trust when I work with my team members. And then the third thing is kind of, I guess, interesting to entrepreneurs in a way that I remember trying to build my company to look good to investors, and a lot of young entrepreneurs try to raise money, and I've already raised millions of dollars. But recently I'm realizing it's important to build a successful business, and it doesn't have to look good to the investors at the moment. Because I remember avoiding making hard decisions, because if I were to make this decision, it would hurt the momentum and I wasn't going to be able to raise the next round. Or it's going to hurt my revenue short term for the next 3 months or so, and it's not going to look good. So I didn't make that hard decision. But deep inside, I knew that those were the right decisions for the business. So now I try to make hard decisions as much as I can and as soon as I can, because I know long term it's the right decision for us, but also for the investors and stakeholders as well. So I would try to I really focus on communication skills because I remember not communicating clearly with the investors. But if you tell them, hey, we're making these decisions right now, it's gonna hurt our momentum short term, but long term it's the right decision, and here's why. So I think those are probably the main lessons that I've learned. I think communication skills are very critical, and then building the right team, of course, it's critical, and being able to really focus on just one thing at a time has been very imperative for me.
That's great. So those are lessons you've learned from experience. I need to be sure to ask you about mentorship too, because you mentioned before, I think the founder of Podium is someone who was kind of a mentor to you. How have mentors helped you out?
Yeah, mentors are critical for sure. Yeah, Eric Ray from Podium is my advisor and mentor. He's been doing it for almost 5 years already. So it's amazing how, my mentors are willing to spend time and help us out. And I think partially it's because they believe in me. So I think it's important to find people that believe in you, and also you need to respect those people. And I would encourage people to find mentors that are 2 to 3 steps ahead of you, so you can always learn from them. In multiple ways, I guess I can provide some examples from Eric. Recently, I guess 2 years ago, when I ran out of money, I literally called him on a Friday night. He's a very busy person. He answered my phone call on a Friday night at, I think it was 6 o'clock or something. He was on the way home, and I explained everything. Hey, Eric, we're burning like $80,000 per month. We have this much money left in the bank, literally have 2 weeks left. And kind of explained the whole situation. And, he listened, and I thought he was going to say, Joon, like, it's completely okay. You tried your best, and maybe it's time to let it go. Maybe that's what I was expecting. But he told me one simple sentence: Joon, don't let it die, and that really surprised me in a way that, wow, Eric still believes that we can pull this off. And after that conversation, he provided a few other tips and recommended a book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things from Ben Horowitz from A16Z. Read that book over the weekend, and the next Monday we had our weekly meeting with the whole team. I told the team that it was everyone's last week, so I had to literally let everybody go the following Monday, because otherwise we would have gone bankrupt right away. But luckily, some of my team members were willing to stay with us and continue to do our best to do something with the products that we have, because we were generating a decent amount of money, but our expense was just so high. And at that time, we were having some acquisition conversations, so like we could have been acquired. So that really helped us try to find a couple ways to see what we can do to make this business work, because we just worked so hard. We just didn't want it to go wasted. So that's when we were able to make some hard decisions, because our back was against the wall already. If we didn't make these hard decisions, we were going to go bankrupt. So that really gave us the courage to make these hard decisions where, okay, we have 4 products, let's get rid of everything and start over. What would have done differently? What would we have done differently if we were to start over? So those questions really helped us make those hard decisions. Really, what we tried to do was, okay, let's remove all the expenses that we have, continue to increase our revenue and profitability, and remove all the products that are not generating revenue and costing us a lot of money. And as we started doing those things, we were able to start seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. At some point, we're like, oh wow, we're break even. Like, we were in the hard situation, but within a few months, I think we're able to hit like break even. And then that really gave us confidence in a way that, wow, now we're able to build a successful business. We have a small team, but it's okay. We're profitable now. What can we do to continue to increase that profitability so we can hire more people slowly, and then continue to try new different things? So that's actually when we didn't have the AI component. We were just connecting students with teachers. That's how we were making money. And then one of my investors reached out maybe 2 years ago and said, hey, Joon, here's this new technology, you should take a look. It was like November 2022 or something. Nobody knew about AI or anything. And then I took a look and I thought, holy cow, this is going to change the whole language learning market. So we thought, should we let other people use the technology to disrupt the market, or should we be the one taking the courage to completely pivot and go all in? So that's what we did with the new technology. We completely pivoted to AI, try to really focus on profitability, got rid of all the product. So essentially, if you think about it, it's a completely new company, and we don't have any components left from the previous products. But somehow we were able to keep the team and get to where we are. We're profitable, and I do think we're headed in the right direction, and the future of my company is bright. So all these hardships and challenges have been worth it, and hopefully I can have an exit in the future.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, two questions that raised for me. One is when you got rid of the 4 products and you changed the product completely, did you lose a bunch of customers, or what was retention?
Oh yeah, we lost pretty much 90% of them. It actually not only we lost a lot of users, but it hurt us for the future products, because the students that we had actually really loved our product. And that's how we were growing so fast, but we just couldn't make enough money with the product. So they gave us 1-star review like every minute. Like literally we were getting hundreds of negative reviews every day. It really tanked our growth. But there's always a way to go from anywhere. So I think it still was the right decision, but it was really painful to see those negative reviews from our customers that we loved.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you is, so Eric clearly was part of your success. He gave you some great advice to pivotal moment. Everyone wants to have a good mentor. How did you meet him?
Yeah, so it was actually through an event called Silicon Slopes. So we were able to present as one of the finalists, and Eric was one of the judges. And he really liked what we were working on. So I reached out to him after the competition and said, hey, Eric, here's what we're working on. It'd be awesome if I could, take you to lunch and learn from you. And then that's kind of how we started building our relationship. And then when the time was right, we were building on an advisory board. I invited him officially with equity and everything, just to make sure that we're able to meet on a regular basis. And he's also incentivized to be able to participate and share his insights. So that's how we have been able to work together over the past 4 to 5 years.
Okay. Well, that's great. And that's a great reason to do pitch competitions, right? You can create a connection with a judge that could be really important to you. So, Okay. Well, I know we're out of time, but thanks for being generous with your time here, Joon. It's a fantastic story. Great job. It's great to see BYU alums out doing great things like this. And Hallo is a great product. I don't think there's any direct competitor. I'm sure obviously there are other ways to learn language, but you've got a great, unique product. Like I say, if people want to check it out, it's at Hallo.ai. And any other way they should get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Joon Beh, Joonbeh, and I'm the only person whose name is Joon Beh, so it's easy to find me. And then, our website is Hallo.ai, and if you're interested in learning a new language, feel free to check it out. Also, our language product assessment component has been very successful as well. So we're currently focused on B2B components, which has been very, very helpful for our growth and success. So currently we're really focused on our B2B partnerships, but eventually would like to come back to consumer and continue to make good progress.
Yeah, terrific. Well, sounds great. Hey, thanks again, Jen. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.